Well, the World Trade Organization has upgraded its trade forecasts following the resurgence of global economic activity. While the rebound beat expectations, the WTO says there are big divergences across the regions. While the WTO estimates merchandise trade volume will grow almost 11% this year, up from the 8% forecast it issued in March. For next year, it sees trade growth slowing to 4.7%, also higher than the previous forecast of 4%. Laura Makin-Isherwood joins us live from London now. Laura, the figures look pretty solid, but the WTO says, quote, the downside risks predominate. So what is it referring to?
Yeah, you're right. They do look pretty solid. And obviously this forecast that's been updated now from the March forecast that was revealed recently has gone from that 8% predicted growth to now 10.8% predicted growth. Now, that is a big shift, isn't it? But of course, that's representative of a rebound, effectively, since economies have started reopening post COVID-19 lockdowns. But there are a number of risks that the World Trade Organization have pointed to, not least supply chain issues, trying to transport goods across different countries, of course, with different COVID-19 restrictions in place. There's also a shortage globally of semiconductors that's ongoing. But one of the biggest issues that have been pointed to by the World Trade Organization's Director General is vaccine inequality. Basically, those countries that have not got their population vaccinated have been unable to reopen parts of their industry or even get people back to school, children back to school, could be inhibiting growth there. And the World Trade Organization's Director General said inequitable access to vaccines is exacerbating economic divergence across regions. The longer vaccine inequality is allowed to persist, the greater the chance that even more dangerous variants of COVID-19 will emerge, and that will set back the health and economic progress we have made to date. So that's the largest warning there, saying that if this trend of growth is to continue, then those vaccines need to be pushed out in countries that don't have them at the moment.
And Laura, how is Asia positioned relative to other parts of the world in the WTO forecasts?
Well, Asia's sitting pretty strongly at the moment, at least for this year. It's topping the tables in terms of export growth at 14.4%. That's the largest figure in terms of world area, ahead of the likes of Europe, which sits at 9.7%, and North America, which sits at 8.7%. It's also leading in terms of predicted world GDP at market exchange rates at 6.1% as well. But next year, that's when things look like they're about to slow. It could be that the Middle East, that region sort of takes over in terms of the rankings, I suppose, in percentage of growth there. Asia's still in a positive trend, but it's not going to be at the top, the World Trade Organization doesn't think. However, currently, for this year at least, things look quite promising in the business world.
Well, thanks for that, Laura Makin-Isherwood in London.